Chapter 3.1, we're going to be working with the verb gustar to tell what people like. Er and I are verbs in the present indicative tense. And finally, interrogative pronouns, or as they're more commonly known, question words. Beginning with the verb gustar, we have to remember that in English we say things like I like grapes, we like to play soccer, and I like milk. Where I am the subject, liking is the verb, it's what I'm doing, and then finally, in the example I like to eat, eating is the direct object, it's what I like to do. However, in Spanish, we know that we would say me gusta comer, where instead of saying I like to eat, what we are literally saying is eating pleases me. Me gusta la pizza, pizza pleases me. I like fruit. If we wanted to switch the English syntax to represent a more Spanish approach, what we would say is fruit pleases me, and ultimately, me gusta la fruta. I like to study is studying pleases me, or ultimately, me gusta estudiar. If we remember our verb chart, we know on the left column, I, you, he, she, and you formal are all singular subjects, while we, you all, and they are plural subjects. The top row, first person, means I am involved. The second row, second person, means you are involved. And the third person means neither you nor I are involved, meaning he or she is involved. We know that the usted and the ustedes forms are the exception to that. They conjugate as third person verbs, however, they obviously represent the second person. If we remember how to talk about what different people like, if we learned in earlier chapters, we need to say me gusta if I like something, te gusta if you like something, le gusta, nos gusta, os gusta, les gusta. It's pleasing to me, it's pleasing to you, it's pleasing to him, it's pleasing to her, it's pleasing to you, sir, ma'am, it's pleasing to us, it's pleasing to you all, or it's pleasing to them. Ultimately, what changes in that chart is just the me, te, le, nos, os, and les. If the thing that you like, or the thing that is pleasing to you, is plural, the word gusta is going to change to gustan. For example, me gustan las papitas, te gustan los dulces, les gustan las galletas. Notice how all of these words, the things that is pleasing, chips, candies, and cookies, are all plural. We can see that in the definite article and by the s's at the end of each of their words. For that reason, gusta is now gustan. If we would like to introduce someone and say what they like, you must put the word e or the word a before their names. For example, a mí me gusta, a ti te gusta, a Paco le gusta, a ella le gusta. A mí y a Carlos nos gusta, a ellos les gustan. A ti y a Consuela les gustan. Notice how in the top one, a mí me gusta is a bit redundant. Just by saying me gusta, I know that I'm talking about myself. So the a mí is only necessary for emphasis. Same thing with a ti, only used to emphasize the word te. However, if we just said le gusta comer, we would not know exactly who we're talking about. If we want to be specific to say that Paco likes to eat, we need to say a Paco le gusta comer. We cannot just say Paco le gusta comer. The word a in front of the name, in front of ella, in front of me y a Carlos, ellos, a ti, is very, very important to introduce people. Notice how a mí y a Carlos is basically saying to me and to Carlos, or to us, which triggers the nosotros form. A ti y a Consuela is saying to you and to Consuela, or to you all, so that's why we're getting the ustedes form, les. The types of problems that you'll face is having indirect objects on the left side, nosotros, a ti, a mí, a ella, a ustedes, and then ultimately things that are pleasing to these people on the right side. The way to attack these problems is to take them step by step. For the first one, and the first smaller blank, we need to look backwards to decide whether we are going to choose me, te, le, nos, os, or les. Obviously, because it's nosotros, we're going to choose nos. For the second larger blank, we need to look forward at the word directly after the blank. If it is a plural word directly after the blank, we need to have gustan instead of gusta. However, jugar is a verb, and verbs are not plural. They just can't be. So we know that it's just going to stay gusta Altogether, it is nos gusta. A nosotros nos gusta jugar al fútbol. To us, soccer is pleasing. Playing soccer is pleasing. A ti is obviously going to be te, and because the word directly after the blank is plural, las uvas, it needs to have the n as in te gustan. A mí me, and because la leche is singular, gusta, not gustan. A ella is going to be le, and because it is los libros, plural, it needs to be gustan. A ustedes les, and although refrescos is plural, soft drinks are plural. It is not the soft drinks that is pleasing to you all, it's drinking the soft drinks. It's the action of drinking the soft drinks. So the word beber, because it is directly after the blank, triggers it to be singular, although the word refrescos is plural. So it's going to be altogether les gusta. A Luisa y a Elsa is basically saying a ellas, or to them, les, and then because escribir is a verb, just gusta. A mí y a él is to me and to him, also to say to us, nos, and because las bebidas is plural, and directly after the blank, it's going to be gustan. Some common words that are thrown in with gustar sentences, for example, are que te gusta mucho, what do you like a lot? Que no te gusta nada, what don't you like at all? Cuál te gusta más, which do you like more? So mucho, nada, and más are used to describe different degrees of liking things. Another word that means you really like something is encantar. It works the same way as gustar, but is more to say to love instead of to like something. For example, instead of saying me gusta, you can say me encanta. Moving on to the present tense of ER and IR verbs in the indicative mood, we'll begin with conjugating. We know how to conjugate AR verbs. We start with the ending, we remove the AR, and what's left is called the stem. We also learn that these are the AR endings for AR verbs, o, as, a, amos, ais, and an. We have an accent on the vosotros form, and it generally follows a pattern. And with hablar, we know that we'd say yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla, ella habla, usted habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. If we look at some examples of ER and IR verbs, we're going to follow the same process, and it's important to know how to find the stem. It's everything but the last two letters. So the stem of comer is just com, escribir is just escribe, beber is just bebe, vivir is vive. There is a different set of endings for ER verbs. Instead of o, as, a, it becomes o, es, e. Instead of amos, ais, and an, it's amos, ace, and en. You can see, obviously, that AR verbs have A's and ER verbs have E's. The yo form is always the same, and the vosotros form still has an accent. For example, the verb comer would conjugate as follows. Yo como. Tú comes. Él, ella, usted come. Nosotros comemos. Vosotros coméis. And ellos, ellas, ustedes comen. IR verbs are going to have slightly different endings. Instead of o, es, e, amos, es, en, it's o, es, e, imos, es, en, where the nosotros and vosotros forms have slightly different endings. We can see that the e changes to an I, and in fact in the vosotros form, it drops the e altogether, and the accent is now on the I. For example, the verb vivir, if we wanted to remove the stem, yo vivo, tú vives, él, ella, usted vive, nosotros vivimos, vosotros vivís, ellos, ellas, ustedes viven. Meaning I live, you live, he, she lives, so on and so forth. The present tense in Spanish is different from English. By conjugating a verb in the present tense, it has 4 and actually 5 meanings. You eat is comes. You are eating, comes. You do eat, comes. Do you eat, comes? Are you eating, comes? You can notice that just the word comes means all 5 of those things simultaneously. It's up to you to decide exactly which one it means. Most of the time it doesn't have a large impact on what you're saying, but it can vary the sentence. Hacer is an ER verb, though it is slightly different than other ER verbs. If we have our ER endings and the verb hacer, you can imagine it would conjugate something like this. However, only in the yo form, the C changes to a G. Go instead of ako, with a k sound as in the C, go with a g sound, and that's why we call these yo-go verbs. You know another yo-go verb? Tango is another verb that has a G in the yo form. For example, I do the homework. All verbs are hacer. Yo hago la tarea. You make the cookies. Tú haces las galletas. They make the eggs. Ellos hacen los huevos. Some examples of conjugations. Yo en comer becomes yo como. Tú en vivir becomes tú vives. Ellos compartir, comparten. Bebemos. Usted vende. Ella comparte. Ustedes beben. Yo vivo. Tú escribes. Nosotros compartimos. Vosotros coméis. And ellas venden. It's just some examples of conjugations of ER and IR verbs. If you wanted to say, I am eating a banana, como una banana. Bebes agua todos los días. Compartimos el almuerzo. Vivan en Carol Stream. Escribe un libro. La cafetería vende manzanas. Interrogative pronouns, also known as question words, are used when you obviously are asking questions that do not have a yes or no answer. Each word is going to have a written accent. Without the accent, it is considered wrong. Some words are going to have masculine, feminine, singular, and plural forms, so it must agree in gender and number at times. Our interrogative pronouns in Spanish are the following. Who is quién? What is qué? Where is dónde? When is cuándo? Why is por qué? How is cómo? And which is cuál. Notice how they all have accents. Some interrogative pronouns, like I said, have different forms. Donde has variations. A donde means to where, and de donde means from where. So for the question, a donde vas? We know that vas is the two-form conjugation of the verb ir, means to where are you going, or where are you going to. De donde eres is from where are you, or where are you from. Notice how the prepositions a and de come before the interrogative pronoun. Quién has many variations. Con quién, de quién, a quién, and para quién all mean with whom, from whom, to whom, or for whom. In Spanish, when you ask a question with an interrogative word, you put the verb before the subject. When you are stating something, the subject comes before the verb. However, notice how in the question, ¿Qué come Elena en el restaurante? That the verb come, which is conjugated to Elena, technically comes before Elena. As well as van is the conjugation, comes before the subject ustedes. ¿A dónde van ustedes después de las clases? All interrogative words have an accent mark. You need to indicate with your voice if you're asking a question. For example, if you say, Va Ana a la biblioteca, and at the end of the word biblioteca, you raise your inflection of your voice, people can tell that you are asking a question rather than just saying that Ana is going to the library. You can also start high. Va Ana a la biblioteca? By varying the tone of your voice, people know you're asking a question. You could also make it a statement like, Ana is going to the library, right? And notice how when you say the word right, your voice also inflects. Ana va a la biblioteca, ¿verdad? So it's important to use your inflection to let other people speaking Spanish that you are asking a question. You will need to know how to choose which interrogative pronoun to use based on the answer to a certain question. For example, if the answer to a question is she is short and smart, what we ultimately want to ask is ¿Cómo es la profesora? What is the teacher like? For number 2, if the answer is soy de Colombia, I am from Colombia, we need the question to be ¿De dónde eres tú? From where are you? Notice how the word de is in both the question and the answer. If the answer is Martín va a la biblioteca, we need to choose ¿Quién va a la biblioteca? Who is going to the library? Martín is going to the library. Some more examples. ¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono? Because the answer is obviously a phone number. And remember that cuál is used instead of que. Even though we are technically saying what is your phone number, we are actually asking which is your phone number because there's only a finite number of combinations in terms of phone numbers that there can possibly be. Voy a Florida. I am going to Florida. ¿A dónde vas este verano? To where are you going this summer? I am going to summer. Much like the other donde problem with the word de in it, notice how a is in the answer, as in voy a Florida, and it's also in the question word ¿A dónde vas? That is no coincidence. And then finally, or not finally, voy a las 8, I am going at 8, is probably going to be indicating time. ¿Cuándo vas tú al gimnasio? When are you going to the gym? And then finally, an expression we've learned from the very beginning. If the answer is se llama Juan, and we're talking about names, ¿Cómo se llama? How does he call himself? He calls himself Juan.